beautiful man. Yeah.
So we're coming out of Annette Brissett, and we are coming back on air with Aidan Doyle. A-I-D-A-N is my guest in the studio, and it's my privilege to have Aidan in the studio with me because this is a stockbroker from Wall Street. So now is the time, if you have any financial questions or you're not clear about certain things. Aidan was explaining how a stockbroker gets paid, and this is priceless information that you would go to a Donald Trump seminar or a Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and pay for this information, which you guys are getting free, gratis, for nada, this Sunday evening on the Conduit show, because you know the Conduit show is where we say we give you edutainment. The information passes from me to you. No, it's not.
I made that word up. I'm suing you.
It was not.
I'm suing you. Excuse me while I call my lawyers. I'm suing you.
It's actually somebody, I heard Robbie G with the word back in the 70s.
Who's on my website?
Edutainment, and it is a wonderful word because it's education and entertainment. Well, we don't need to explain because the Conduit listeners know. Anyway, yes, so Barry 777, the guy who's in the studio, who's my guest today, is Aidan, A-I-D-A-N Doyle, who's a stockbroker.
Google me.
Google him, he's saying, and he also has a show. What's the name of it?
On the Money, O-N-D-A-M-O-N-E-Y, 3 words, On the Money Show.
On the Money, and no, Aidan has not been drinking coffee. This is how he talks. He's from South London.
Mate,
yes, he's a regular boy, or man I should say, from South London. So Aidan, do you still consider Britain your home or no?
Tough one. I've been here so long now. I was doing the math a few days ago. In about a year I've spent half my life on American soil. So question is, does that make me American or English? I'd say it makes me a combination of the two, which is a very good one actually.
But you still have family and friends.
I have a couple of remnants of my life in the UK. Mostly my daughter. Hi Ash, how are you? And a ton of mates as well. Still do business with. Maxi Priest, my homeboy. Known him since I was 14.
I was actually talking to him a while ago with the Smiley Culture situation. Yeah. Which we can touch on later on, but for right now, it's all about Aidan Doyle.
It's all about me, remember that.
Oh dear, and he's, you know what,
I love
he's
America.
got such a small head, really. I don't know how he
I'm just about getting this microphone on here.
You got the microphone, but you know what, it's very sensitive, so you can be relaxed and sit back, and the mic will pick up, and you'll hear yourself.
Good.
If you're kind of being a bit loud or whatever. So we were playing a selection of Annette Brissett, and we are going to play a nice selection for the ladies today for Mother's Day. But of course, you know, it's Sheron P, and she has to come differently. I'll come a little bit different. But I do really want this evening for the information that Aidan has to bring to us to kind of get out there. So we're going to get back into that conversation, Aidan. And I wanted you to recap before the break. You were telling me about stockbrokers and how they actually get paid.
All right, this is for those that, I mean, you know, this is basic financial Wall Street do's and don'ts 101, but just wanted to answer a direct question which does get asked a lot, and you should ask a lot. You should ask this yourself anyway if you're working with a broker, and that's how do you get paid, and you know, why do I need to be aware of how you get paid? And you do, and here's why. If a stockbroker's out there to buy and sell stock for you, all right, he's your middleman. You can't go to the stock exchange and buy stock for your account. You need a broker to facilitate the deal, hence the word stockbroker. Now your broker, or your financial representative as he may call himself on his business card, will get paid one of two ways, okay? And it's very important you know there's a difference. He will either get paid on a commission basis, which means, as it sounds, he will get paid as a percentage of every trade that he does on your behalf. That means if something's bought or something's sold on your account, you'll be charged a commission. He, the broker, will get a piece of that particular commission. Or method B is he will get paid on performance, and this is more usual in terms of a hedge fund manager or a money manager who will manage money for high net worth individuals. In other words, this guy's paid on what he does for you, or how successful he is on performance, i.e. if the guy makes you $40,000 on $100,000, he's made you 40% of your money. You may have signed an agreement before that saying you'll pay him 20% of that. That means he'll end up with $8,000. Good luck to him, he's worth it. He's made you 40. Okay, here's the difference. Here's why you need to know the difference. Stockbrokers, and I'm one of them, but I'm giving you this as a caveat, have a very real interest in excessively trading your account.
Yeah.
Every time the money moves, they make money.
Absolutely.
It is no good to them if it's stagnant, if it's inactive, if nothing happens. Okay, so think about the following. it is unlikely, and I raised this point over the years in various contexts, that a stockbroker will double your money for you in a stock. And that doesn't mean that the stock won't do tremendously well. It just means that in reality, in the real world, what will probably happen is when the stock goes to the 40-50% percentage-wise gain, he'll want to sell it,
get rid of it,
because
it must go down.
It's not just it must go down, but there's a chance for him to make some money and tell you he's made you some money. So that stock had more gas in its tank, but won't get there because the commission structure. The commission structure makes it conflicts. It's conflicts between his interest and yours. So think about that every time your stockbroker tells you he wants to take some profits. I've said enough on that.
So
subject.
Aidan, you are really kind of digging the dirt and digging the ditch.
Digging the dirt. I don't know if it's digging the dirt. I'm just pointing out some pitfalls or some potential conflicts of interest between the stockbrokers, between your representative's interests and your own. So consider that. That's not to say your broker's not doing the right thing. It just means that consider his interest
as opposed to yours,
in alignment with yours.
Wow, that is a biggie, and I'm just wondering if people really kind of get what you're saying. But you know what, I got it.
As long as you got it.
I got it. So let me ask you then, because we know that individuals can trade on their own account. You know, you hear about E-Trade and stuff like that. How does that work? You have to pay them a commission.
All right, I'm going to explain a little bit about that. Let me just put this in context, okay? Most of the things you see nowadays online, be very afraid of them. All right, it costs nothing to set up a website and invite people to open accounts and trade. There's very little regulation, and the trouble with, in fairness, I have this kind of conflict that I address all the time between the would-be experts out there that can set themselves up as experts because of the technology. Not experience. The technology allows them to. In other words, it's the easiest thing in the world now to set up a website which is totally interactive and streamed and has web prices on it and platforms and looks like it's a professional site.
It's not the real deal.
It's not the real deal. It's done on someone's PC in his garage. Now, here's a fact for you. I want everyone to absorb this. You couldn't possibly learn everything you need to know about finance on one TV show, but I'm trying to give you a nugget or two that will make you think twice before you open accounts, do things that will cost you financial ruin. One of the most burgeoning marketplaces now in terms of trading, as well as the stock market, is the foreign currencies market. All right, now I don't know how many.
Well, they call it FX.
FX, exactly. I have a little bit experience in that area. I also host a weekly show called This Week in Forex, which you can find if you Google. But here's one of the things I'm always saying. I find myself saying it every show, and I'm going to say it here tonight on Mother's Day. And write this down, ladies and gentlemen, or put it on the back of a napkin. 90%, and that includes you, Joe listener, wherever you are right now, 90% of all individuals that trade in the FX market will lose all, if not most of all, of their money. That means that means 9 guys out of 10 will get wiped out. Now that's not because 9 guys out of 10 are not as smart as the other guy. What it means is there's a loaded deck, and there's so many things you don't know going in that if you don't act intelligently or get good advice, you will get creamed. In other words, it's not a market for everybody. I've said enough.
Wow, Aidan, that, oh my goodness, there's nothing really that I can say about that. But my thing is that I really, talking to my friends and my family and the people I come into contact with, the big thing that everybody's talking about is the fact that they don't have any money, and these are what I would consider middle class people. So I'm thinking to myself, well, how can we kind of address that situation? What are the gateways that are open to people like me who may not have a lot of money to play with, but I want to try and increase my portfolio, increase my small financial holdings? What would you say to someone like me who doesn't really have 100,000 to invest?
I would say leverage.
Okay, well, explain.
I was hoping you'd say that. Okay.
Aidan is also a comedian.
I'm not a comedian. I'm not a comedian, but I'm pretty good at getting my point across, and I try to do so in a manner, in a way that doesn't send people to sleep. We're talking about some financial concepts and ways of looking at things that, if you read in a textbook, wouldn't do much for you. I'm just trying to explain them in lay terms. Okay.
Right.
Leverage is something that most people don't even come across in their lives. It just means the ability to magnify your efforts. Okay. The perfect example is this, and it's one that everyone can relate to, and it's something that most people will do only once in their life, is leverage themselves, and I'll explain. I don't know how many of those out there on Mother's Day have got a mortgage or own their own home, but if you do, the odds are that you didn't buy it cash. Okay, you may have, some of you might, but most of you out there will probably have made a down payment, got a mortgage, bought your home, hopefully benefited in a bullish property market and have some home equity. Now, although you don't know it, that whole situation was brought about by leverage, and I'll tell you why. Leverage means using money and magnifying its buying power. Okay, in other words, let's say your home. This is good. Let's say
I'm fascinated.
Let's say your home was on the market for $100,000 when you decided to buy it. You probably went to your bank, insurance company, building society, wherever you finance institution, and said, "I've got $25,000. That's my down payment. Please lend me 75 against the value of that home." That, viewer, listener, attendee, whoever you are out there, was a leveraged transactions. That means you took 75 grand of someone else's money because you knew it was a good bet. All right, and it was a good bet because the equity in your home was worth way more than that loan which you repaid. That is leverage. People do that, just so you know, out there in the stock market, the foreign currencies markets, the futures markets, the commodities markets, and all other financial markets. The only reason you don't know it, I mean, you personally, I'm assuming you don't, is because you're not aware of its power and how to utilize it.
So let me ask you a question then. For me, trying to wrap my head around this, so leverage is me increasing my worth or my property or the thing that I want by using someone else's money, part of someone else's money to purchase it.
That's business. I mean, the business. Listen, use any analogy you want. You got to make money. What did I say? You got to
spend money to
make money. That's leverage. Scared money don't make money. That's leverage.
Okay.
When you look, if you open a business, you're saying that my money that I'm spending here, it's
going to bring in
more money. That's a leverage. You just don't know it because you don't think of it in those terms.
So are we going to have an exam after this?
No, you're not. But someone's going to make a nice Mother's Day meal and a cup of tea.
Really? You'll get the cup of tea, but I don't know about the Mother's Day meal. It's my Mother's Day, so you're supposed to.
Yes, actually.
Where's my dinner? You're supposed to bring dinner for me today.
I forgot to do this.
Where's the flowers?
Do you know what?
I can't believe this.
Just before we do any further, happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there. I will say that I lost my parents way back in the 80s, but I have absolutely no qualms about wishing all the mothers that I know out there many best for this day and many Mother's Days to come. Thank you.
And you know what, this is a good place to have a break, and when I come back we'll be talking a bit more about mothers, Aidan, and those who may not have their mothers around. So we're going to go into some music. As I said, I'm going to be doing the Mother's Day selection, oh my goodness, at the 7 o'clock. Maybe we have to push it back to the 7:30 because there are still things that I want to ask Aidan, but in the meantime we're going to play this little track here from a gentleman by the name of Bugle.
It's not an easy road, but I can't make obstacles stop you. That's slow down.
Some people stop by obstacles, my journey's continue. The devil is always gonna be around, haunting you. Every single day will be taunting you. Babylon always looking some things to plant on you. Some people stop by obstacles, my journey's continue. The devil is always gonna be around, haunting you. Every single day will be taunting you. Babylon always looking some things to plant. But all of my goodness, all of my pride and decide some man I go feel. If you seem for ride a bicycle and go deliver mail, praise my God, my find a job, now go rob for go a jail. Fortunately over evil righteousness stop to prevail. Good things come in small parcels, some people want it in barrage. You cannot hide from that, so forget your camouflage. According to your word, now so you get your reward. So if you got to be a rebel with a cause, yeah. Some people stop by obstacles, my journey's continue. The devil is always gonna be around.